The Aurora crashed into Kethel 7 with fire trailing behind it like a comet. The impact shook the ground so hard that rocks fell from the mountains for hours after. Commander Victor Hayes was thrown against the wall of the control room. His left arm broke just below the elbow. Blood ran down his face from a cut above his eye. He did not care about the pain. He only cared about one thing now. His people were alive, but for how long? The planet below was hostile in ways that no human had prepared for. The crew had received reports before the crash. They knew about the large predators that hunted across the forests and open lands. The reports called them Sethrani. They were 8 feet tall. They had claws that could tear through metal. Their teeth were long and sharp like daggers. The reports said the Sethrani were the top predators of this world. They hunted everything. Everything smaller than them died. Humans were much smaller. The first attack came 3 hours after the crash. The Sethrani came at dawn, drawn by the smell of blood and fire. 3 of them approached the broken ship. They moved like nothing else Victor had seen before. Their muscles rippled under golden fur. Their eyes were large and caught the light like mirrors. One of them, a female, roared so loud that windows still intact in the ship exploded. They lost 4 people in that first attack. Good people. Engineer David Chen, medical assistant Rebecca Stone, pilot Christopher Walsh, and young colonist Amy Hoffman, who was only 23 and had wanted to study the plants of this world. Victor made a hard choice that day. They could not stay near the crash site. The wreckage was too much like a beacon to the Sethrani. It told them that prey was here. Easy prey, slow prey, weak prey. He ordered the survivors to gather what they could carry and move north into the mountains. They left behind the ship, the supplies locked inside, the hope of staying in a place they knew. They moved into the dark forests of Kel 7, a world that did not want them here. 3 years passed. The cave system in the northern mountains became New Haven. It was not a good home, but it was safe. The mountains were high and cold. The Sethrani did not hunt here. They hunted in the warm lands below, where other prey was easier to catch. The humans carved chambers out of the rock. They built walls. They grew food in gardens where sunlight came down through openings in the stone ceiling. They made tools. They made clothes. They made a life. Victor had 54 colonists when they reached the caves. 47 remained now. 7 had died from sickness, cold, and hunger in those first hard months. No more had died since then. The people of New Haven had learned how to live on this world. They had learned, just barely, how to survive. Dr. Lisa Porter had been a surgeon on Earth. She had performed thousands of operations in hospitals, where everything was clean and machines beeped to tell you when someone was dying. Here in New Haven, she had one small room with medical tools she had salvaged from the ship, and others she had made from stone and bone. She had no machines. She had no backup. When someone came to her broken or sick, she fixed them with her hands and her knowledge and nothing else. She was tired. That was the first truth. She was tired in her bones and in her mind. But there was work to do, and so she did it. The morning started like any other morning. Lisa was mixing herbs that might help with infection when old Marcus, who managed the garden, came to the medical chamber. He was breathing hard. His face was gray. "There is something at the fence," he said. "It is big. It is hurt bad." Lisa did not ask what it was. She picked up her tools and followed Marcus out into the cold mountain air. What she saw was impossible. A Sethrani cub lay against the outer fence of New Haven. It was not a small thing. It was the size of a large dog, maybe 80 or 90 pounds. Its golden fur was dark with blood. One of its hind legs was bent in a way that legs should not bend. There were long cuts across its flank, deep wounds that showed the muscle underneath. Other colonists had come out. They stood behind Lisa. Some held weapons. Some held rocks. They all knew the same thing. A Sethrani cub meant a Sethrani mother. A Sethrani mother meant death. "We should kill it," said Marcus. "Kill it and hide the body. If the mother comes looking, at least she will not know where it died." Lisa understood the logic. She did, but she was a doctor. Her whole life, she had sworn to help people who were hurt. She had sworn to ease suffering when she could. She looked at the young Sethrani, and she did not see a threat. She saw pain. She saw a creature that was going to die without help. "No," she said. "No?" Marcus stared at her like she had lost her mind. "Lisa, that is not a sick person. That is a predator. That is the thing that killed David and Rebecca and the others." "It is a young creature," Lisa said. "It did not kill anyone. It is hurt. It needs help." Victor Hayes came out of the main chamber. He was older now than he had been 3 years ago. Command had lines in his face. Leadership had made his hair gray. He looked at Lisa and then at the cub and then back at Lisa. "If we take it in, we put everyone at risk," he said. "If we do not take it in, we are killers," Lisa said. "We are not killers. We are survivors." Victor was quiet for a long time. The wind came down from the high peaks and made everyone shiver. The Sethrani cub made a sound, something between a whimper and a growl. It was dying. In an hour or two, maybe less, it would be dead. "Get it inside," Victor said finally, but quietly. "And Marcus, double the lookouts on all sides. If the mother comes, we need to know immediately." They dragged the young Sethrani into the medical chamber. Its body was heavy and warm. Even wounded and barely awake, Lisa could feel the power in it. She could feel what it would be like when it was healthy and strong. She cut away the matted fur around the wounds. She cleaned them with water that had been boiled over fire. She mixed medicines from plants she had learned to use on Earth, plants she had managed to grow in the gardens of New Haven. She wrapped the wounds in cloth that had been sterilized. She set the broken leg as carefully as she had ever set anything, using splints made from wood. The cub made sounds of pain but did not try to hurt her. It was too weak. It was too close to death. Lisa worked through the night. By morning, the cub was stable. It was still sick. The infection could still kill it. But it had a chance now. It had something Lisa had given it. A chance. To live. Victor stood in the doorway of the medical chamber and watched Lisa sleep beside the Sethrani cub. She had her hand on its chest, feeling it breathe. He thought about risk. He thought about survival. He thought about what separated humans from predators. Then he went to give the order to double the lookouts again. Because the mother was coming. He was certain of it. And when she came, everything would change. Kira had given birth to 12 cubs in her lifetime. 12. She had kept them safe and taught them to hunt and fight. Only 7 of them still lived. The strong ones. The fast ones. The ones who had survived the harsh way of the Seth Rani. Her latest cub, the one she called Kesh, was strong. He had killed his first large prey at 6 months old. He had won fights with other young Seth Rani. He was going to be a great hunter, maybe even a matriarch one day. He was perfect. 3 days ago, Kesh had gone to hunt alone in the Western Territories. Kira had let him go because he was old enough now. He was ready. She had taught him everything. He would come back with prey, or he would not come back at all. This was the way. But he should have come back by now. Kira had searched the Western Territories for 2 days. She found Kesh's blood on the rocks. She found claw marks from another Sethrani, much larger than Kesh. She found the path of his flight, the way a wounded animal runs when it is trying to get away. She followed the blood south toward the mountains. The territory there was not claimed by any Sethrani. It was empty. It was dead. Nothing lived there. Except Kira had heard reports from other Sethrani about the ship that had fallen from the sky 3 years ago, about the strange creatures that came out of it, about the soft prey that should have died in days, but somehow did not die. Most Sethrani thought they were already dead. Most Sethrani thought it was not worth hunting anything so weak. But Kira saw the settlement from the ridge. She saw the caves carved into the rock. She saw the walls of stone. She saw the gardens where food was growing. She saw structure. She saw intelligence. She saw something she had not expected to see in prey. She saw purpose. Kira circled the settlement for hours. She could not smell Kesh. She could not hear him. But she could smell fresh blood. She could smell medicine, the herbs that even Sethrani sometimes used on their wounds. She could see, even from a distance, that something was being cared for inside that cave. She had to know. Kira moved closer to the fence. It was not a good fence. She could break through it with barely any effort. But she did not break through. She waited. She watched. Her patience was the patience of a hunter who knew that speed sometimes meant death. Night came. The humans of the settlement did not know she was watching from the shadows of the rocks above them. They moved through their caves in the light of fire. She watched them. They had no claws. They had no fangs. They had no fur to keep them warm. She watched, and she began to see something she did not expect. They loved each other. She saw it in the way an older human put a hand on the shoulder of a younger one. She saw it in the way they shared food, taking smaller portions for themselves so others could have more. She saw it in the way they spoke to each other in soft sounds, not threats and challenges like the Sethrani. She saw a young human go into a dark chamber and come out with cloth and water. She saw other humans gather around something. She saw them working together with purpose. On the 6th day, a human female came out of the cave carrying something wrapped in cloth. Even from far away, Kira recognized the shape, the size, the way it moved. It was Kesh. Kira's blood became cold. Her instinct was to roar, to attack, to kill everything in that settlement and take back her cub. But she was old enough and wise enough to know that her instinct could be wrong. The human female carried Kesh into a place where sunlight came down. She set him on the ground carefully, as if she was handling something precious. She arranged the cloth around him in a way that would keep him warm, but not too warm. Then she did something that stopped Kira's heart. She touched Kesh's head. She touched him the way a mother touches her young. Her hand was gentle. Her movements were careful. She was not hurting him. She was caring for him. The human left. Kesh lay in the sunlight, and he did not try to run. He did not try to hunt. He just lay there and let the heat of the star warm his fur. An hour later, the human female came back. She brought food. Fresh meat. The kind of meat that an injured young Sethrani would be able to eat. She set it down in front of Kesh and stepped away so he could eat without fear. Kesh ate. And then he made a sound that Kira knew well. A sound of contentment. A sound of trust. Kira watched from the rocks, and her whole understanding of the universe changed. For 3 more days, Kira watched. She watched the human female come to Kesh again and again. She watched her clean his wounds. She watched her bring him food. She watched her sit near him and make soft sounds. The way humans talk to each other. She watched Kesh get stronger every day. On the 10th day, the wounds were no longer leaking blood. The infection that should have killed him was gone. Kesh could move his broken leg without crying out in pain. He could stand. He could walk. He was healing. The human female brought Kesh a live animal to catch. A small creature that was easy to kill. Kesh killed it with a quick bite, the way she had taught him, and he ate it. He was a hunter again. Kira understood now what had happened. Her cub had been taken by the strange prey creatures. They had not killed him. They had not eaten him. They had healed him. They had healed him. They had cared for him as if he was their own young. Kira had hunted for 50 years. She had killed hundreds of creatures. She had never seen anything like this. She had to make a choice. She could attack the settlement and try to take Kesh back. She could try to kill the humans who had touched her cub. This was what a Sethrani would normally do. This was what her instinct demanded. But Kira was not just a Sethrani. She was a mother, and she understood something that most of her kind did not understand. This human female was also a mother. On the 11th night, Kira walked down from the ridge. She walked past the fence. She walked through the darkness and into the light of the human settlement. Every human inside would see her. Every human would know that a Sethrani had come. Some of them might die. She was strong enough to kill several humans before they could hurt her. But she did not come to kill. She came to show something to the human female. She came to show that she understood. The human female came out of the cave. Her name was Lisa, though Kira did not know names. She was not afraid. She stood in the darkness between the two mothers. Lisa looked at Kira. Kira looked at Lisa Dodd, and in that moment, something changed in the world of Cathel 7. Two creatures from different species, separated by biology and history and evolution, saw each other truly. Lisa walked forward slowly. Kesh came out of the cave and stood beside her. He made a soft sound, agreeing to his mother. Lisa's hand was on Kesh's head. She touched him not as a captor, but as a protector. She was saying something that did not need words. Your cub is safe. Your cub is loved. Your cub is mine to care for now. Kira lay down on the ground. She made herself low. She made herself harmless. Then she made a sound that no Sethrani had heard in 1,000 generations. A purr. A sound of peace dawed, and in the darkness of Cathel 7, under stars that no human had names for, two mothers understood each other. Lisa named the young Sethrani cub Kesh because it was a name that sounded strong but not mean. She had learned that Sethrani could understand human words if humans used the same words again and again. So she called him Kesh every time she brought him water, every time she cleaned his wounds, every time she brought him food. Kesh became his name, and the young predator learned to respond to it. 2 weeks had passed since Kira had come to the settlement. The mother Sethrani did not attack. She did not try to take Kesh back. Instead, she watched from the rocks above New Haven. Every morning and every evening, she was there. Every human in the settlement knew she was there. They could feel her presence like a weight in the air. Victor had doubled and then tripled the watch. He had men with weapons on every ridge. But he also made a decision that surprised most of the colony. He told the guards not to attack unless the mother Sethrani made the first move. "We are in her territory," he said at the evening meeting. "She could have killed us all by now. She could have burned this place to the ground with nothing but her strength and speed. But she has not. That means something." Some of the colonists argued with him. They said he was being soft. They said that predators only understood death. They said that one moment of mercy would be repaid with blood. But Victor was their commander, and they followed his orders. Lisa did not need the arguments to know she was doing the right thing. Every morning when she woke up, Kesh was sleeping beside her bed. Every morning, she checked his wounds, and they were getting better. The infection was gone now. The fur was growing back over the cuts. The bone in his leg was healing straight and strong. Kesh was going to live, but living meant something new now. Kesh was not just Lisa's patient anymore. He was becoming her friend. Or maybe something closer than a friend. Maybe what the Sethrani felt for each other, the bond between a mother and child, between a protector and the protected. Cash followed Lisa everywhere in the settlement. When she went to work in the medical chamber, Cash came with her. When she went to the gardens to look for plants she could use as medicine, Cash walked beside her. When she sat down to rest, Cash lay down at her feet, his large head resting on her leg, his breathing warm and steady. The other colonists had become used to the young predator. Children would come and sit with him. He would let them touch his fur. He would make soft sounds that meant he was happy. The first child who touched him without fear was a girl named Sophie. She was 7 years old. Her mother had wanted to stop her, but Victor put his hand on the mother's shoulder. "Let her," he said. "Let her see what we are capable of." Sophie sat next to Cash, and the young Sethrani allowed her to run her hands through his fur. He purred, a sound like distant thunder, and Sophie laughed. It was the first real laugh that sound had made in weeks. Every adult in New Haven felt something change inside them when they heard that laugh. Cash was learning. He was learning that humans were not prey. He was learning that they could care for him in the way his own mother cared for him. He was learning trust. On the night of the 23rd day, Lisa knew it was time. Cash was healed. His leg was strong. His wounds were closed. He was ready to leave the settlement. He was ready to go back to his mother. She told Victor this at the evening meeting. "He is healthy enough now," she said. "We should release him. Are you ready for that?" Victor asked. Lisa was quiet for a moment. She had grown attached to the young Sethrani. Every day she had expected it to be the last day. Every night she had sat with him, knowing that one day soon she would have to let him go. But this was the right thing to do. Cash did not belong in the caves of New Haven. He belonged with his mother. He belonged with his own kind. "Yes," she said. "I am ready." That night, Lisa took Cash to the edge of the settlement. The sun was going down. The sky was turning orange and red. The air was cool. Kira was waiting on the ridge above, the same place she had watched from for the last 3 weeks. Lisa walked slowly. Cash walked beside her. At the edge of the fence, Lisa stopped. She knelt down and put her arms around the young Sethrani. She felt his fur. She felt his heartbeat. She felt the warmth of him. "You are going to be strong," she said. "Stronger than you already are. You are going to be a great hunter. You are going to protect your mother and your brothers and sisters. You are going to live a long life on this world." Cash made a sound. A purr. He understood that Lisa was saying goodbye. Lisa pulled back and looked at Cash's face. His large eyes reflected the light of the dying sun. She touched his forehead, the way she had done 100 times in the medical chamber. She touched him with all the love that one being could give to another. Then she stood up and stepped back. Cash did not move at first. He looked at Lisa. Then he looked up the ridge where his mother was waiting. His body tensed. His muscles moved. And then he ran. He ran up the slope with speed and power. He ran toward his mother. He ran toward his kind. He ran toward his life. Kira came down from the ridge to meet him. She could have charged. She could have run hard and fast. Instead, she moved slowly. She made herself low. She was a mother greeting her son. Cash reached her, and they collided. But it was not a fight. They moved around each other, checking for injuries, checking for signs of sickness or weakness. Kira smelled him. He smelled her. They made sounds that meant something deep and old and true between a mother and her child. Then Kira looked back at Lisa. She was standing at the fence, watching them go. The human female who had healed her cub. The human female who had loved Cash when she could have killed him. Kira made a sound. A roar that echoed across the mountains. But it was not a roar of anger. It was a roar of understanding. It was a roar of respect. It was a roar of gratitude. Lisa watched as Kira and Cash disappeared into the forest. She watched until they were gone. She stood at the fence in the cold air of Kethel 7, and she cried. Not from sadness, though she was sad, but from something else. From knowing that she had changed something. From knowing that she had proven that humans were more than weak prey creatures. She had proven that humans could heal. She had proven that humans could love. She had proven that humans could matter. Behind her, Victor Hayes stood watching. He understood what had happened here. He understood that this moment, this small moment where a human and a Sethrani had found a way to trust each other, this moment might change the future of their species on Kethel 7. But the question was how. The question was what came next, and the answer was coming from the ridge above, where Kira was bringing her cub to the gathering place of her kind. The answer was coming from a council that had not met in generations. The answer was coming from the Sethrani who would finally ask, what are these humans really? The council fire burned in the great cave of the Sethrani. This place was old, older than any Sethrani alive. The marks on the walls showed hunts from 1,000 years ago. The floor was smooth from 10,000 years of walking. And here, in this ancient place, the matriarchs gathered, 7 of them. The oldest and strongest and most intelligent of the Sethrani. They had lived through wars. They had seen other species try to challenge their rule. They had eaten prey that could think and reason. They believed that intelligence did not matter. Strength was all that mattered. Blood was all that mattered. The kill was all that mattered. Kira walked into the council fire with Kesh beside her. Every matriarch turned their head. Every eye focused on the young cub. Every ear noticed that he was different. His fur was too light in some places. His wounds had been cared for in ways that only other Sethrani could care for them. The oldest matriarch was named Sahar. She had lived 70 seasons. She had killed hundreds of creatures. She had given birth to 32 cubs, and she had watched most of them die fighting for territory or fighting each other or dying to age. She looked at Kesh like she was looking at a ghost. This cub should be dead, Sahar said. Her voice was like rocks grinding together. I smell the wounds from here. I smell the sickness that should have killed him. Where has he been? Kira did not lower her head. She was a matriarch in her own right. She was not subject to Sahar's dominance. But she was also showing respect by bringing this question before the council. The cub was taken by the humans, Kira said. The prey creatures from the fallen skyship. Every matriarch made a sound of anger. The humans were prey. Prey did not take cubs. Prey did not do anything but die when Sethrani hunted them. The very idea was an insult to the natural order of things. The humans healed him, Kira continued. They cleaned his wounds with knowledge that we use. They set his bones with skill that we have learned through generations. They fed him and kept him safe. Why would prey creatures do this? Asked a younger matriarch named Vess. She had only 40 seasons. What reason would they have? Kira was quiet for a moment. She looked at Kesh. The young cub was sitting still, his ears forward, his attention on the matriarchs. He understood he was the subject of this council. He understood that his life might depend on what happened in this moment. I watched them, Kira said. I watched them for many days before I came to collect my cub. I saw something I've never seen before. They take care of each other. They protect each other. They protect their young the way we protect ours. A human female named Lisa, she held my cub as if he was her own young. She cleaned his wounds as a mother cleans the wounds of her children. She brought him food and water and safety. They are weak, Sahar said. They are soft. They have no claws. They have no fangs. They have no fur. How are they even alive on this world? They think, Kira said. They use their minds instead of only their strength. They make tools. They build structures. They grow food instead of only hunting. And they have something that we have forgotten about. They have the will to help creatures they do not have to help. They have compassion. The word hung in the air of the cave like something foreign and wrong. Compassion. It was not a Sethrani word. It was not a concept that had meaning in their world of strength and dominance. In the world of the Sethrani, weakness was death. Kindness was death. Anything that was not strength was death. But Kesh stood up and walked to his mother. He pressed his head against her leg. And the matriarch saw something they had never seen before. They saw a young Sethrani showing trust to something that should have been his enemy. They saw a cub that had been touched by human hands and yet was still strong, still whole, still alive. This cub is stronger than it should be, Sahar said finally, because the humans healed him, because they saved his life when they could have killed him. That is interesting. It is unnatural, Ves said. Prey does not do this. Prey runs or hides or dies. Prey does not act like hunters. Perhaps we have been wrong about what prey is, Kira said. Perhaps these humans are not prey at all. Perhaps they are something we do not yet understand. For 3 days and 3 nights, the council debated. Some matriarchs wanted to attack the human settlement and destroy it. Some wanted to capture the humans and force them to serve the Sethrani. Some wanted to forget that the humans existed and leave them, to die on their own in the caves of the north. But Sahar was the oldest, and Sahar had seen many things in her 70 seasons. She had seen the Sethrani hunt other predators to extinction. She had seen territories fought over until blood made the ground red. She had seen power and strength and dominance turn tribes against each other until there was nothing left but death. On the 4th day, Sahar made a decision. She would meet with the humans. She would see this creature named Lisa, who had healed the cub of her enemy. She would understand, if understanding was possible, what these prey creatures really were. Kira brought the message to New Haven. She walked through the settlement in daylight and made sounds that Victor recognized. A request, an invitation, a challenge maybe, but not a threat. Victor called his best people together. Lisa, of course. David Martinez, who had been a diplomat on Earth. Anna Robinson, who was strong and quick and could fight if fighting became necessary. And 20 others, carrying supplies and hope and fear in equal measure. They met. Sahar at the place between the human settlement and the Sethrani hunting grounds. It was neutral land. Neither territory belonged to anyone. It was a place where 2 different worlds could meet without the weight of home ground. Sahar was taller than Kira, older. Her fur was scarred from 1,000 fights. Her eyes were sharp and cold and intelligent. She looked at Victor, and he forced himself not to step back. She looked at Lisa, and something in her expression changed. "You are the one," Sahar said. Her voice was quieter than Kira's, more controlled, more dangerous. "I am," Lisa said. "I healed your cub's son. Why?" Sahar asked. "Give me a reason that makes sense." Lisa stepped forward. Victor wanted to stop her, but he did not. He let her walk toward the great matriarch. "Because pain is pain," Lisa said. "Because a young creature in suffering needs help. Because healing is what I was made to do. Because if I had killed him, I would have been a murderer. But when I saved him, I became something else. Something better." Sahar was quiet for a long time. She looked at the small human female standing before her. This prey creature that had no claws and no fangs. This soft thing that should have been dead already. Then Sahar did something that no human expected. She lay down on the ground. She made herself low. She made herself powerless. "What do you want?" she asked. Victor understood. She was asking for peace. She was asking what could be built between them. She was asking what came next. "We want to live," Victor said. "We want to farm and build and heal. We want to share knowledge. We want to understand your world." And we want you to understand ours. Sahar stood up. Then we will try, she said. We will build something that has never been built before. But know this, human. If you betray this, if you use our trust against us, we will hunt your kind from this world and erase the memory that you were ever here. We understand, Victor said. And we accept those terms. The first trade was food. The Sethrani brought fresh kill, and the humans brought crops they had grown. The first cooperation was shelter. The humans taught the Sethrani how to build better caves. The Sethrani taught the humans which places on the world were safe and which were dangerous. And slowly, very slowly, the two species began to see each other not as predator and prey, not as enemy and threat, but as something new, as partners, as two kinds of intelligence learning from each other, as proof that the world could be different from what it had always been. 6 months had passed since the first meeting between Victor and Sar. The ridge that looked down on New Haven was no longer a place of danger. It was a place of work. Sethrani and humans moved together, building new structures that neither species could have built alone. The humans had knowledge of architecture. The Sethrani had the strength to move heavy stones. The medical center of New Haven had expanded. Lisa now had 3 human assistants and 2 young Sethrani who came to learn from her every day. She taught them about anatomy. She taught them about the plants of Kethel 7 and how they could heal wounds and cure sickness. She taught them that knowledge was power, and that power used to heal was better than power used to kill. The gardens grew larger. The Sethrani had shown the humans how to use certain minerals in the soil to make crops grow faster and stronger. The humans had taught the Sethrani about preservation, about storing food for the cold seasons when hunting was harder. Kesh was fully grown now. He was strong and fast and intelligent. He was learning both from his mother Kira and from Lisa. He was becoming something that no Sethrani before him had ever been. He was becoming a bridge between 2 worlds. The transmission started on the 1-year anniversary of the first meeting. Victor had found the communication device in the wreckage of the Aurora. It had taken him months to repair it. The batteries were powered by the sun through panels that humans had learned to construct in the caves. The signal was weak, but it was strong enough. The message was simple. The Aurora has crashed. The crew has survived. We have made contact with the dominant predator species of this world. Cooperation has been established. We are building a new civilization on Kethel 7. The response from Earth came back after 3 weeks. Rescue mission authorized. We are sending a ship. Prepare for arrival in 8 months. Victor called a council with Sahar. Humans and Sethrani sat together in the Great Cave. For the first time in the history of both species, they were making decisions together. They are sending a ship from Earth, Victor said. The original plan was rescue. But that is not what we want anymore, is it? Sahar made a sound that might have been laughter. It was something new. The Sethrani were learning to make sounds that were not threats. We do not want to lose you, she said. You have become part of our world. Then we need to show them, Lisa said. We need to show them what is possible here. We need to bring them to Kethel 7 and let them see what we have built. For the next 8 months, Sethrani and humans worked together to prepare. They built a new settlement on the ground level, closer to the Sethrani hunting territories. They created a place that was part human design and part Sethrani structure. It was something completely new. It was proof that cooperation was possible. They trained a group of young humans and young Sethrani to work together without fear or aggression. They created a school where knowledge was shared. They created a hospital where both species could be healed. They created something that the galaxy had never seen before. The rescue ship arrived on a day when the sun was bright, and the wind was cold coming down from the mountains. It landed in the wide valley below the new settlement. The crew saw humans waiting for them. They saw Sethrani standing beside humans. They saw something that made them forget to breathe. Commander Sarah Bennett was the captain of the rescue ship. She had come expecting to find the survivors of the Aurora, either dead or barely alive. Instead, she found them thriving. She found them working with an alien species that should have killed them within days. Victor stood at the front of the group that greeted her. Lisa was beside him. Kish and Kira stood just behind them. Sophie, the young girl who had been the first to touch a Sethrani without fear, stood between them, holding hands with a young Sethrani named Tor, who had been learning to read and write in the human way. "Welcome to Kethel 7, Victor said. "This is not a rescue. This is an invitation. Join us in building something new." Sarah and her crew were shown the medical center where humans and Sethrani trained together to heal. They were shown the farms where both species worked side by side. They were shown the schools where human children learned the languages and customs of the Sethrani, and young Sethrani learned the science and art of humans. But the moment that changed everything was when Sarah walked into the medical chamber and saw Lisa working with a young Sethrani who had been born with a malformed limb. The human doctor and the young predator were laughing together. The cub was making sounds of joy as Lisa showed her how to move in ways that her body could manage. The human was not afraid. The Sethrani was not aggressive. They were simply together, connected by something that transcended species. "This is what we have built," Lisa said. "Not fear. Not dominance. Not a hierarchy where one species rules another. But cooperation, partnership, the understanding that intelligence comes in many forms, and that the strongest thing any species can do is learn from another." Sarah understood. She sent a message back to Earth. The message was simple. The Aurora has not just survived. It has transformed. Humanity has made first contact with an intelligent alien species, not through force or diplomacy from a position of strength, but through simple human kindness. One human doctor healed one alien cub. That act changed everything. A year later, more ships came. Not rescue ships, but colony ships. Humans came willingly to Kethel 7 because they had heard the story. They had heard about the world where predators and prey had learned to work together. They had heard about a place where intelligence and compassion had won over strength and dominance. The civilization that grew was like nothing that had ever been seen before. It was not human. It was not Sethrani. It was something new. It was a place where two very different species had learned to value what the other could offer. Lisa stood on the ridge where Kira had once watched in darkness, and she looked down at the settlement below. There were human buildings and Sethrani caves mixed together. There were children of both species playing together. There were adults of both species working on projects that neither could have completed alone. Kesh stood beside her, fully grown now, fully part of both his worlds. He was teaching a class of mixed human and Sethrani students about the medicine that Lisa had taught him. He was proof that it was possible to be part of two worlds. He was proof that what separated species could be bridged. Victor came to stand with them. He was old now, his hair completely gray, but his eyes were still bright with purpose. "Do you think they will believe us back on Earth?" he asked. "Do you think they will understand that humans did not conquer this world with weapons or force? That we won it with healing and kindness?" Lisa smiled. "They will believe us because it is the truth," she said. "And more than that, they will believe us because this works. We are alive. We are thriving. We are building something better than what we left behind. That is proof that cannot be denied." Kesh made a sound, a purr that had become familiar to all the humans of Kethel 7. It was a sound of contentment. It was a sound of peace. Victor looked out over the world that humans and Sethrani had built together. He thought about the moment when Lisa had chosen to heal instead of kill. He thought about how one decision, made by one doctor in one moment of compassion, had changed the destiny of 2 entire species. "Thank you," he said to Lisa. "For what?" she asked. "For being brave enough to see a creature in pain and choose to help instead of choosing to be afraid." That one choice changed everything. Lisa watched the sun set over Kefil 7. She watched humans and Sethrani walk home together. She watched a world where the impossible had become possible. She watched a future that had been born from a single act of kindness to a wounded cub. "The bravest thing humans can do," she said, "is not to fight. It is not to survive alone. It is to reach out and help. It is to see pain in another being and say that matters to me. That matters to us. That is what makes us human. That is what makes us strong." And in the darkness of Kefil 7, under stars that belonged to no single species, 2 worlds became one world. 2 kinds of intelligence, 1 kind of heart. And a single act of healing echoed across the galaxy, showing that humans were not conquerors. Humans were builders. Humans were healers. Humans were capable of something that aliens had never seen before. Humans were capable of love,